Really?
You're reading through the talking points to see who said what already.
I am. Really? We can't afford CalWorks? Really? We're going to get rid of child care? Really? We're going to starve the people? Really? That's what this budget does, and that's what we're going to do? Really? This is really our proposal for California? This is how we're going to restore the promise? Really? Is that really what we're going to do? What would Ronald Reagan have done? I don't know. Let's see what he did. Ronald Reagan raised taxes, increased the budget, and increased investment. That's what Ronald Reagan did. That's what Ronald Reagan did, and that's in part why we have such a great state. Where are we going to get the money? Well, why don't we get the money where it is? Right? To paraphrase some bank robber. Why don't we get the money where it is? This is the 8th largest economy of the world. Not of the nation, of the world. This is the richest state in the richest nation in the history of humanity. We have today, on our worst day, on our very worst day, and I saw the latest unemployment reports, and we're moving up there, and that's not good. But let me tell you, you don't cure unemployment by laying people off. Who is the middle class? The middle class are teachers and police officers and welfare and social workers. That's part of the middle class. And people who work in manufacturing. So you don't address unemployment by making more people unemployed. That doesn't do it. So really, we're going to cut CalWorks. So where do we get the money? $1.4 trillion of economic activity takes place on our worst day. On our very worst day, that's how much money we have. Comparable to what these corporations have or hoarding in the banks right now. So where would we get the money? $1.4 trillion of economic activity. So what did we do? Governor Wilson said, well, you know, we have a lot of rich people in California. Half of America's billionaires live here by choice. For every lament that you raise about California, for every criticism, and I agree with Senator Runner, I think people are tired of saying how terrible things are. But I'll tell you, those people who have the most money in this nation and in this world, what's their choice? California. Half of America's billionaires live in this state by choice. They could live anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, but they choose to live here because of the great economy, because of the great infrastructure, because of our great universities, because of our great tradition, because of the great working men and women who come here to work with tremendous hope and promise. They choose to live here. Where do a quarter of America's millionaires choose to live? Here. Now, Governor Wilson, what was his response? We saw a recent study showed how he addressed the same type of challenges that we had. And he said, you know what? We don't like to, but we have to. Ask those who have the most to pay their fair share. Simply ask them to pay their fair share. I know the number's small. I know it's not the best policy choice. I know it's volatile. But guess what? Yes, it has ups and downs, but this proposal only has downs. Doesn't have ups and downs, only downs. Really? Cut CalWorks? Really? Cut child care? Really turn our backs on 430,000 workers? That's how we're going to cure unemployment? Really? Provide $2 billion in corporate welfare? That's our choice? Where's the money going to come? Really? I remember, and I've said this several times before, Senator McClintock, I thought incredible in his commitment, incredible in his pursuit of an objective. I really admired his tenacity, his persistence, As wrong as he was, I have great admiration for his conviction. He convinced everyone that we were burdened, that there was the fetter, that there was this emerging specter of the car tax. Really, the car tax was the problem of our economy. The car tax was the problem of the families. The car tax was the reason why the economy wasn't moving. And that if we gave people their money, that somehow they would pay for their police officer and their school teacher and their librarian. And he convinced us to the point that we all bought in. And so we reduced this, quote, car tax, it's really the vehicle license fee, to the cost of $35 billion. Senator Lano tells us it costs us $6 billion a year. And really, in the alternative, we're going to eliminate CalWorks, a program that has moved half the people on welfare into the workforce and has made them the basis for small businesses as consumers. Really, $4.5 billion of federal matching funds are going to be turned away. Really, 430,000 jobs are going to be lost, and we're going to make the poor too poor to participate in the economy, and we're going to put teachers and nurses and firefighters and police in the unemployment lines. We've used this strategy before. We've cut government 20% since 2007. We've cut taxes. We've meted out welfare reform and welfare benefits for the richest and the wealthiest of this state. And it hasn't worked. We hear so much about manufacturing jobs, and manufacturing jobs are great. High wages, usually come with employer-paid health care, have some form of pension, and what else? Provide an opportunity for those workers to participate in the economy. That's why those jobs are great. And that's why middle-class jobs are great, because they provide people an opportunity to participate in the economy. And what does that do? That means they purchase retail goods, they utilize their vehicles for transportation, they spend money, they consume, they buy groceries, and they pay taxes. They do their responsible thing and pay their taxes, really. So when people sit around a family table and say, you know what, we don't have enough money, they make cuts, but they don't kick people out of their families. I mean, this is this moral imperative that Senator Padilla talked about. There's a limit. We don't cast people aside. We're better than that. We're greater than that. You don't sit around the kitchen table and say, well, you know what? That kid we have playing football just eats too much. We got to let him go. We got to make cuts. We can't afford that anymore. We sit around the table and say, hey, you know, Sally, man, she comes home from that cheerleading and then that soccer, and she wants to eat. We just got to let her go, you know? I mean, we just can't afford her. And even though she comes with a scholarship, we still can't afford her. And even though she has a part-time job, we just can't afford her. We don't do that. We sit around that family table and say, you know what? We've got to take care of everybody. And if we've got to take a second job to reinvest in our family, we do that. And you know what? If we've got a brother or a son who's got a whole bunch of money and he's in the same family, we say, you know what? You got to kind of kick in. I know you won the lottery of life. You've got all that revenue, and you You've got a lot of lobbyists working for you. You got a lot of people convincing us that, for us to take your money is wrong, even though we raised you, even though everything that you have and have received is a benefit of everything that we've done for you, and that your grandparents did for you, and that their grandparents did for you. Even though we've done all that and you've tried to convince us, you've got to share too. That's what Governor Wilson said to help pull us out of that recession, and guess what? It worked. And that's what Governor Reagan did, right? And you know who else? Governor Deukmejian. Governor Deukmejian. Those three governors said, you know what? We do have the money. That's where the money is, and that's where we'll get it, Senator Dutton. That's where we'll get it. We'll invest. We'll remain morally united in our abhorrence of poverty, but not the poor, and will remain steadfast in our commitment to working men and women by creating jobs, not by creating unemployment, and we will remain true to the promise that is California, that California is unique in its place in the world, where people come with hopes and aspirations and a belief that we all share, in the belief that all of us should be treated with dignity and respect. Really,